Happy Sabbath. For today's mission report, the title is given as The Why Boy. So generally, even we ask if we are doing something, or if we are asked to do something, we will ask why should we do like that. So even today's story is about the question why, around the question why. And this story is about a person called James, who is from Alaska. So James was always a why boy, and whenever he was asked to do something, he always used to ask, why should we do this, and why should we have to be like this and all. James was an orphan as well. His mother and father died at a very young age, and he lived with his relatives in a small village, in a small native village in Alaska. Those relatives, one day what they did was, they sent him to a summer camp. So James had to take an airplane in order to travel to the place where the summer camp was conducted. It was because Alaska did not have so many roads, and people often had to take airplanes only in order to travel from one place to another. So James took the airplane and traveled to a city of Dillingham. And after arriving Dillingham, he rode on a bus for another 30 minutes, and then he boarded a boat and traveled another 15 minutes to reach the campsite. This was a camp, it was a 7-day Adventist summer camp for Alaska Native children just like James. James immediately after attending the camp, he loved the camp, and he loved all the activities which was conducted in the camp, especially the water games. Even though it was summer, the water there was as cold as ice, and he was happy throughout the day, but then he started to frown as soon as he started to attend the evening worship. When it was time to pray in that evening worship, all the children stood, and the 7 boys who slept in the same cabin with James also stood. Their camp counselor named Ardiv also stood. But then James remained seated. And Ardiv, their camp counselor, whispered to James, asking him to stand up. And he also told that one of the camp rules was that everyone need to stand during the prayer to show respect to God. So James silently stood for that day. But then the following days, what James did was, he remained seated during the prayer, even in the morning worship and evening worship as well. And also, at a point of time, he started to talk to a boy beside at the time of prayer. So Adif didn't like this. And on the 3rd day of the camp, when James remained seated as usual during the prayer, Adif invited him to step outside the campsite to just have a talk. So when they went outside, Adiv reminded James the camp rules, that they have to stand during the prayer time, and also he told that if this is what he is going to do, then there will be consequences. And he also told, out of respect to God, you need to stand up when we pray and not talk. And he asked him, why don't you stand up? And James started asking, why should I stand up? Why can't I talk? And he also told that he has never seen God, and he doesn't even know if there is a God. There Adiv saw an opportunity to teach James about God, and then he started speaking to James about the wind that often blew throughout the camp. He told, even though you don't see the wind, you know it exists because you can feel it on your skin and see the rustling of the leaves in the trees. In the same way, we can't see God, but we can sense His. But in the same way, I can't see God, but I can sense His presence around me. And he also spoke about the stars at night. He told, when there are clouds in the night sky, you can't see the stars, but you know that they are there. In the same way, I can't see God, but I can sense His presence around me. And James' eyes started to tear, and then what happened was, he asked Adiv how can he know this, and he also asked, if God exists, why do bad things happen? Where was God when my mother died and my father died? And then Adiv replied, saying that death was not a part of God's plan, but the first humans, Adam and Eve, sinned against God, and the result is pain and death. So God sent his son Jesus to die for everyone's sins, and he also told that those who believe in Jesus will live with him forever in a world without pain and death. And he also told, even though you cannot see him, God is still there. And James listened quietly and asked, is God really up there? And after that, James stood silently during the prayers. After hearing these kind of things from his camp counselor Adif, James liked that, and he started standing during the prayers gradually. And then he never said what he was thinking about, but Adiv hoped that he was thinking about God. So even if we look into our own lives, then we can observe that we have so many people like James around us. So even we have to look for a chance where we can talk about God to them, and tell them that God is really there even in their troubles. And a camp so a camp located on a lake near Dillingham, Alaska is the only Seventh-day Adventist summer camp that caters to Alaska native children. So part of our 13th Sabbath offering in 2016 helped to renovate the camp with new cabins and bathrooms. So they are thanking us for sharing the love of Jesus with this quarter's 13th Sabbath offering. Thank you.